All right, let's talk about a tool that honestly feels like a superpower for getting things done. It's called the Pareto Chart, and it's a simple, visual way to find the very few things that will give you the biggest results. It's all about finding those tiny changes that, boom, create massive improvements. Let's get into it.
We've all been there, right? Staring at a to-do list that just never seems to end. Or maybe you're dealing with a flood of customer complaints, or a project that's just stuck because of endless little bugs. It's just chaos, and you can't possibly fix everything all at once. So the big question is, where do you even start to get the biggest bang for your buck?
And that right there is the prioritization problem in a nutshell. See, it's not about just making a list. It's about making the right list, the one that's actually going to move the needle. So, here's the secret. The solution isn't to just work harder on everything. No way. It's about having the clarity to separate what the quality pioneer Joseph Juran famously called the vital few from the trivial many. The basic idea is that in almost any situation, a tiny number of causes are responsible for the vast majority of your problems. The real trick is identifying them with certainty.
Okay, so how do we find these vital few? Well, the secret is this surprisingly simple, but really profound idea about how the world just works.
It's called the Pareto Principle, but you probably know it as the 80-20 rule. And it's a game changer. It basically says that for most things, roughly 80% of the results you get come from just 20% of the effort. I mean, just think about that for a second. In business, 80% of sales often come from 20% of customers. In software, 80% of the crashes are caused by 20% of the bugs. This pattern is literally everywhere, and the Pareto chart is the tool that makes it jump right off the page.
And this isn't some new idea, believe me. It all started way back in 1896 with an economist named Vilfredo Pareto. He just happened to notice that about 80% of the land in Italy was owned by only 20% of the people. But it was Joseph Juran, that guy we mentioned earlier, who in the 1940s took this economic idea and turned it into an absolute powerhouse of a management tool. He applied it to quality control in factories and proved that most of the product defects came from just a few key production problems.
So that's the big idea behind it all. Super powerful stuff. But now let's get practical. How do you actually use this thing? We're going to break down the anatomy of a Pareto chart. And I know it might look a little complicated at first glance, but trust me, it's actually incredibly simple to read once you see how it works.
All right, let's look at the chart itself. There are really just a few key pieces. First, you've got these bars, right? They're always set up from the tallest on the left to the shortest on the right. Each bar is a different type of problem, and its height tells you how frequently it's happening. You read that number on the left axis. Now, see that line that's climbing up from left to right? That's the cumulative line. It's just adding up the impact of each bar as it goes along, showing you the running total as a percentage. You read that over on the right axis.
Okay, now this is where the magic happens. You see those first couple of really tall bars on the left? That is your vital few. And look at how that line shoots up so steeply over them. That's the chart screaming at you that these few problems are causing most of your trouble. These are what you need to focus on, period. Then, as you move to the right, you see that long, flat tail of shorter bars where the line flattens out. That's the trivial many, the low-impact stuff you can safely worry about later. So you can read the chart now. Great. But what does that actually do for you in the real world? I mean, why is this thing so powerful? Let's dive into how this simple picture turns into a huge strategic weapon.
The value for any business is just immense. For starters, it forces you to prioritize based on actual data. No more guessing, no more arguing in meetings about what feels most important. And that, of course, leads to way better use of your resources. You stop wasting time and money on those trivial problems. Third, you're replacing opinions with cold, hard facts, which is how you make smart, credible decisions. And maybe best of all, it's an amazing communication tool. You can put this chart in front of your team, your boss, anyone, and they get it instantly.
And look, this isn't just some random management fad. The Pareto chart is considered one of the 7 fundamental tools of quality by huge organizations like the American Society for Quality. It's a cornerstone of powerhouse methodologies like Six Sigma, where it's used to cut through all the noise and find the real root causes of problems. This is the real deal.
Let me give you a perfect example of this in action. So there was this apparel plant just drowning in product defects. They ran a Pareto analysis and discovered that just 2 issues, problems with buttons and pockets, were their vital few. So they focused all their energy on fixing just those 2 things. The result? A staggering 66% reduction in total defects, just from focusing on 2 problems.
And its power isn't just for factories. Think about healthcare, where the stakes couldn't be any higher. Hospitals use Pareto charts to pinpoint the most common types of medication errors. By targeting those top few mistakes with better training and systems, they can make huge improvements in patient safety.
Same logic applies in the service world. Imagine a call center getting buried under an avalanche of complaints. Instead of trying to fix everything at once, they use a Pareto chart. They find the single biggest reason people are calling in angry. They laser focus on fixing that one issue, and what happens? Their overall complaint volume just plummets.
So, when you boil it all down, here's the most important thing to remember. The Pareto chart isn't just a one-and-done tool. It's really a way of thinking. This quote just nails it. It's about building a culture of leverage thinking, always being on the hunt for that small group of causes that will deliver the biggest possible impact.
So, I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. In your job, on your projects, heck, even in your personal life, this 80-20 rule is happening right now. So take a second and really think about it. What is the vital few in your world? What are those 2 or 3 things that will make all the difference? Find them, focus on them, and you'll be blown away by the results.